Abundance, manifested through selfless, altruistic, and healing actions. This path had been the home to many of the more unique characters HSR had ever seen. Some being incredible healers who will keep you alive no matter what, some having the ability to regenerate energy, and some even having the potential to be DPS characters. This path had an impressive history during the early updates of Star Rail, until one day, they disappeared without a trace. Abundance has been missing since version 2.5, and it seemingly has no return in sight. So what happened to the path? Why have they been gone for so long? Today, we'll find out as we walk through the gallery and learn about the history of Abundance, and how the path has disappeared from modern HSR. Now, give me a minute and let's go see if I can find a tour guide. I think this is where the exhibit starts.
Hi, are you here for the tour?
Akavili above! Yes, I am, but where did you come from?
Don't ask.
Understood. So, what is this picture then?
This is where the history of Abundance starts, all the way back in version 1.0, where Abundance was introduced and first began to take root in HSR.
Interesting. Alright, tell me more.
Why not take a closer look for yourself?
Honkai Star Rail was released all the way back in April of 2023. At launch, there was 23 characters only, which is insane to say nowadays. Alongside that, there was only 7 playable paths, with Abundance being one of 2 sustain paths in the game. Now during these early days, there wasn't much to worry about with your sustain. There was no thoughts on can they continuously restore my HP every second, can they offer a lot of additional damage, can they provide some very meaningful buffs. The only concern in this time period was, can they heal me after I take a hard hit? The answer to that was always yes, with early game sustains being entirely focused on only their healing capabilities. During the earliest version of HSR, the healers we had available were the 5-star standard character Bailu, and the free 4-star given out to players, Natasha. These are the characters who led to Lingsha and Hyacinth, folks. Think about that. Let's talk about the kits and how they managed in that stage of the game. Starting with Natasha, this is the character I'm sure many of you have used at one point or another. She's not only a nice character you get to meet in the story, but she is also incredibly helpful, as your only sustain option besides her is March 7th, who even back then was still a little unreliable. Natasha, on the other hand, had some great tools to ensure your survival, and was all about healing and nothing else, as we'll find out. Natasha's kit is extremely simple on paper, but there was some interesting aspects here that I feel inspired future characters. Her skill is a simple heal called the Love, Heal, and Choose. After healing her target, she will apply a health regen to them. This effect lasts for 3 turns and can be a nice way to save skill points ideally. Next up is her ultimate, Gift of Rebirth. With a downright minuscule energy cost of 90, Natasha will heal your entire party. And that's it. No bonus effects, no giant unicorn swooping in to wreak havoc, just a normal, party-wide HP restore. Oh, what simple days those were. Lastly, her talent is Innervation, which, just increases your outgoing healing for allies below 50% max HP. Yeah, so how did we go from this to this? Moving on, the major traces for Natasha are all simple to follow and assist with her main kit. Her skill can remove debuffs, her outgoing healing is overall increased by 10%, and her health regen ability is extended from 2 to 3. All in all, Natasha offers basically nothing besides solid sustain. She has a fast-acting ultimate, a skill capable of cleansing, which was pretty uncommon back then, and overall good heals for low HP targets. This is how the Path of Abundance started, and it really shows the progression of HSR as a game. We already know that from here, sustains change a lot. They get far more powerful and focus a lot less on being great healers, and far more on being great characters. To go back and see that this was the top healing option when the game was released, it's honestly insane to fully think about. This wasn't the only option either, as we still have the new Vidyadhra Elder to talk about, Bailu. Bailu is similar to Natasha in their main purpose, which is just to heal, but Bailu has a bit more of a unique mechanic comparatively. Bailu has the talent Gourd Full of Elixir, which is linked to her signature buff, Invigoration. Invigoration is essentially Natasha's regen, but instead of being turn-based, it's linked to when you get hit. Lasting for 2 turns and 3 uses, every time an ally is hit, they will restore HP right after. On top of this, any ally with Invigoration also takes 10% less damage. I would like to note, this damage reduction on Invigoration, I swear on my life, damage reduction for healers has completely disappeared since this. No other healer has this in their kit, which is wild since so many of them don't do healing in between turns like Bailu does. She arguably needs it the least, yet somehow she is the one who has it. This is insane to me, but I digress. This section is mainly here to highlight these early game healers and how they were the foundations of sustains in HSR. As we can see with Natasha's regen and Bailu's invigoration, there's quite a few unique ideas put into action with these early healers. While the kits overall may not be the best, we see key parts of the abundance identity within these two, and these parts carry on for a long time to come. Now, with the respectful aspect done, yeah, these characters are bad. Genuinely, really not good. They offer very little utility in modern day, and Bailu notoriously lacks a cleanse in her kit, which is a death sentence in modern HSR. 4 stars have been shown to be of no importance to HSR going forward, so the only real hope now is for Bailu, who could get a Nova Flare. As she stands right now though, no one is really using her in content, and she has very little purpose stacked up against the other sustains in the game right now. While this is the birth of abundance and its journey in HSR, this is also where the first seeds were sowed for its downfall, failing to give these key aspects to characters who would eventually fall off, essentially guaranteeing their death in the meta. From here, abundance would continue to expand throughout the version. So abundance started out pretty simple as just healers and nothing else I see. Alright, what's this?
This is the next stage in the history of abundance. With traditional sustains already existing with Fu Xuan, Bailu, and Luocha, HSR needed to try something different with these characters. They needed something better, something more unique, something a little more foxy.
Do you mean like a literal fox, or do you mean the actual definition of more cunning?
Just jump in the damn painting.
Yep, got it. After HSR's release, sustains were still being pumped out slowly but surely. We saw Luocha in version 1.1, Fu Xuan in version 1.3, and Lynx in version 1.4 as a free 4-star option. These characters were all great, and 2 of them were abundance as well, allowing the path to continue to grow and succeed from that point. So, what was the issue, I hear you asking? Well, abundance had already been dethroned as the sustain path. Fu Xuan, the preservation character, was the new best of the best in this game. Her kit was powerful and reliable, outputting some damage on top of her ability to massively reduce all damage received while restoring HP as well. This alone wasn't the reason she was so great though. Instead, it was her kit having something no other sustain had at this point: additional utility. In Fu Xuan's skill, she has the ability to increase crit rate for all teammates by a whole 12%. Maybe not the most impressive nowadays, but during the early days of HSR, this was a godsend without things like Scholar, Brutal in Arena, Izumo, or even good crit rate increasing light cones. This added utility was absolutely massive, and since Fu Xuan did as good of a job keeping the party alive as any other character, this put her over the other healers and shielders by a pretty big amount. Fu Xuan now landed as the best sustain in HSR for the time being, with no other abundance being able to match up with her. Luocha had some cool utility removing buffs while also being very SP positive, but it still wasn't enough to really rival Fu Xuan. It was after this point where a deliberate change occurred in the Star Rail dev room, a change I've talked about extensively before. This was the time where the game was evolving, and characters had to evolve with it, or they would get left behind. We needed sustains that did more than just heal. They needed a niche. They needed to give some sort of buffs. They needed a further utility and more reason to be pulled. And that, viewers, is how we get to Huohuo. Despite a rather controversial launch with many claiming she wasn't that good compared to the others, this little green fox turned the game around for abundance characters, and took strong hold of the meta. She had a unique skill set unlike anything else in the game, and looking back at her nowadays in 2026, she was a character insanely ahead of her time in HSR. So now, let's talk about her kit and what exactly makes her so good. When it comes to Huohuo, the biggest selling point is her ultimate, Tail Spiritual Domination. This ultimate will increase the attack percent of your whole party by 40 for 2 turns. All in all, not a bad buff, but what really made it great was the other effect. When using this ultimate, she will regen 20% max energy for every other party member. At this point, the only character capable of doing this was Tingyun with her ultimate. No other character had energy restore abilities. This put Huohuo in a league of her own potential-wise, offering something that you could previously only get by using Tingyun. With the newly released Argenti also being a character who massively relied on energy to do most of his damage, she had great partner options the moment she came into the game. She was seen as a great buff for Jing Yuan, Kafka, Jingliu, and more. Her unique ability came alongside a great kit overall too. with her having a built-in auto cleanse and passive energy regen for players to make use of. All of this while having a phenomenal E1, increasing the speed of all allies by 12%. Huohuo as a character was a pretty big step forward for Abundance, I think. She maintained the identity that the base version healers had established, while still managing to innovate and improve on the path at large. The game was going to keep progressing and continuing forward. New endgame was added, new simulated universes were added, and DPS designs were only growing stronger and more complex, with the release of Dan Heng Il, Argenti with his unique 180 energy ult, and even more coming after. While Fu Xuan was the first real step towards sustains as a whole improving, Huohuo is what kicked it into overdrive. Team comps could completely change from what they were, with a maximum energy regen of over 80 points being possible with Ting Yun and Huohuo together. Not to mention for characters with good crit rate, a 40% attack boost was a huge amount to gain, comparable to many Harmony characters at that point in time. Huohuo bridged the gap fully between support and sustain, opening up the potential for future characters to continue to make this jump and push the game's limits. While that happened soon after with Aventurine as well, Abundance only sat on the sidelines for so long before making their next move. So Abundance characters kept advancing to the point that they even began to have some hybrid aspects to them. I wonder how they can keep advancing past this point. Huh, next painting. Alright, where's the tour guide at? I am ready this time. Hey, Jesus, stop doing that! Alright, what's up with this painting?
This is where the journey of Abundance ends. The final character of the path released over a year ago.
This is the last one already? What happened?
You'll find out soon, but first, you must learn about the last evolution of the path. Now go get in the painting, because I got something to play, you know what I'm saying?
After the arrival of that green fox and the advancements she helped pioneer, sustains were permanently changed. Aventurine was the next great sustain after her, becoming the first true DPS sustain hybrid. He was capable of outputting damage comparable to a sub-DPS, while essentially guaranteeing you couldn't get touched. On top of this, he was also capable of doing follow-up attacks, once again cementing a niche with a sustain so that they would stand out more from the crowd. With him in the game as the new best 5-star sustain, and Gallagher being an amazing free-to-play option, sustains entered their best era for quite a while. Gallagher covered Super Break teams perfectly, while also covering almost every other team thanks to his immense SP positivity. Aventurine had the same advantage, while benefiting follow-up and Acheron especially. These two characters alongside Fu Xuan and Huohuo all stood at the top of the game. They were all amazing options that covered a variety of teams and basically worked universally. There was the exception of a boss like Sam being bad for healing, but that was one specific case compared to the rest of the bosses that were perfectly fine. In such a solid age for HSR sustains, the question then became, how do we improve on this? The devs had to ask that same question, as the next few patches were silent for sustains. With two new ones having just been released at the start of version 2.x, it did take a while to see our next character. When we did though, it turned out to be the next, and little did we know, final step for Abundance. Say hello to the final Abundance character as of the time of this video, Lingsha. Lingsha was released in version 2.5, as not only a sustain, but a pseudo DPS character. Following in the steps of Aventurine for preservation, Lingsha had the potential to output a high amount of damage, while also keeping the party topped up on health. Within her kit was not only Super Break synergy, but a summon that was capable of performing follow-up attacks. This meant she could be paired with Firefly, Boothill, the soon-to-be-released Rappa, and Fei Xiao, all as viable options. Without any of these characters, she still served as a consistent additional source of damage, with her primary scaling being off of attack like Luocha. This obviously led to some shenanigans, but let's first focus on her kit as a whole. Lingsha's kit revolves pretty heavily around her summon, Fu Yuan. This little bunny will come out whenever Lingsha uses skill, and will stay around for 3 turns unless skill is used again. When using skill, Lingsha will not only do damage, but will restore HP while advancing Fu Yuan's action if it is already summoned onto the field. This isn't the most uncommon thing with summon characters, but still nice to see that Lingsha can do it too, especially with how important the heals from her follow-ups are. We now move on to her ultimate, Dripping Mistscape. This ultimate will deal damage, heal, advance Fu Yuan's action by 100%, and will inflict Befog on all enemies. Befog is an effect that increases break damage taken by 25% at E0, a massive bonus for any break character. The final note I want to make about Lingsha's kit is her major trace, Ember's Echo. The same way Huohuo has automatic heals in between turns, Fu Yuan will automatically go if any ally drops below a certain HP percentage. This effect has a 2-turn cooldown, but doesn't take any of Fu Yuan's turns away. This is another great feature for lychDRMZ, which did feel very needed, as in between turns is still the easiest time to lose a character in HSR. This is shockingly one of the only characters with a true out-of-turn healing, finally learning from Boyo all that time ago. The design of lychDRMZ was unique, powerful, and fitting for the modern era of HSR. On paper, she had everything a sustain would need, and that wasn't the end of her potential either. With her release, people saw the power of lychDRMZ, and decided it was time to push the limits of this new character. From that point on, Super Break DPS lychDRMZ was born. While it only worked on fire weakness enemies at that point, this was a case where lychDRMZ was genuinely good enough to shoulder the burden of being a main DPS, even outperforming Firefly in AoE content. Not long after this came critSha, when lychDRMZ began to run as the main DPS with crit stats instead. While this was nowhere near as popular, the inclusion of Sunday gave even more fuel to this fire, allowing for a diverse playstyle we had never seen before. All in all, in terms of making a unique character, HSR did it. lychDRMZ was everything she should have been. She learned from the past HSR sustains, improved on their designs, and did it while being capable enough to be your main DPS. This was seemingly the peak of sustains at that point in time. Aventurine and lychDRMZ were incredibly designed with kits that excelled no matter what. Topping them would be impossible. It couldn't be done. Or at least that's what we all thought for 6 updates. Then, along came the death of Abundance, and the character who changed HSR forever. So this is the end of the exhibit, huh?
Yes, it is. The journey of Abundance was a long one, but as you see, it has all but fizzled out at this point. Within this painting is the reason the path has ceased to exist for so long.
I see. Alright, I'm ready to see the death of Abundance.
Fair warning, it's a lot more pink than you would expect death to be.
Sounds good? Jesus Christ, let's just get this over with. HSR continued to change and grow as we entered version 3.x, with new characters coming out left and right that were different from anything we had ever seen. Ejayy with her speed scaling, Thurda with her complete resurrection for not only erudition but the dual DPS team setup, and then Tribby being the greatest generalist the game had seen up to that point. Alongside all this new hype for Amphorius and the new characters, came an issue that was getting hard to ignore. A lot of sustains didn't feel great at this point. Enemies were hitting harder now since we had so many sustain options in the game, and with our DPS doing so much damage now, enemies needed to feel a bit more intimidating. Characters like Lynx and Natasha started to get left behind a little, while Huohuo was holding on to relevance thanks to lychDRMZ. lychDRMZ and Aven were still in a good spot, but that wouldn't really last much longer. In version 3.2 came Kotuhx, a character with an ult charge mechanic like no other, gaining it from HP lost and gained instead of conventional energy. She released as the first main push of Amphorius, and it was clear she was meant to be the character of the patch. Her power level was undeniable, and she was built to work with the new broken support, Tribby. This is how we saw Aventurine begin to fall off. The game shifted in a way where his damage became lacking, and his shields were of less use than an HP restore. The game slowly pushed him out of top tier contention, and lychDRMZ, she wasn't doing much better. After the release of Kotuhx came the character who would change HSR forever. A character so strong, endgame was balanced around you having her. A character that every player was recommended to get, no matter the case. A character whose name enrages thousands. Behold, Hyacinth! She's really strong, I promise. Hyacinth is a remembrance character who completely redefined HSR and its meta. She was the key support for Kotuhx that everyone needed, and it seemed like her usefulness wouldn't go beyond that of her fellow good sustains. This wasn't the case though, as Hyacinth was so much stronger than even the greatest Glazer was anticipating. With a broken set of Eidolons for herself and her team, a powerful light cone, a base kit that allows you to do 100k like it's a warm-up routine, Hyacinth landed herself squarely as the strongest sustain in the game, bar none. No one can compete with her at that point, and now, over a year later, only one character has been able to rival her excellence. The problem is, it was a preservation character. Hyacinth, quite simply, is the reason Abundance has died in HSR. She is everything Abundance wants to be, and more. What lychDRMZ was capable of, with consistent out-of-turn heals, immense damage output, and overall solid flexibility, Hyacinth can do it all, but better. She keeps your HP topped up constantly, while also dominating the battlefield doing a bunch of extra damage, comparable to that of a sub DPS. This design as a whole was simply unbelievable, and stands today as one of the most well put together they've made in HSR. That's the big problem for Abundance, is that if they can't top Hyacinth's kit, why bother making an Abundance character? There is no point currently in getting a new Abundance character, sadly. To top Hyacinth, you'll need more damage, better healing, and an even more flexible niche. After her Nova Flares, we see Huohuo has managed to reach the same heights as Hyacinth tier list-wise, but her usefulness is mainly for Elation teams. And now, after those Nova Flare changes, no other character really stacks up anymore. That is the harsh reality. Abundance has been gone for over a year at this point, just like Preservation was before dropping Dan Heng PT. With that in mind, maybe there's a chance we'll see the return of Abundance in a similarly impressive format? I wouldn't keep my hopes up though. We have a new path after all, which means it'll need a sustain to run alongside it. See you soon, Elation Sustain Pearl. Can't wait. Abundance disappearing from HSR has been genuinely pretty depressing to see. These are unique characters with often very great designs, and for them to be gone for so long is just genuinely shocking. I know it'll be hard, but I would like to see another one soon, as well as a new Harmony, as they're shockingly getting close to that absent territory soon. We'll have to see about those, but either way, I really hope you all enjoyed. This was such a fun video to do, and I really tried to make it a full experience rather than just a yap session. I have more of these planned in the future, so I hope you look forward to them. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who actually submitted voice clips so that I could do the little dialogue sections. Those were a lot of fun. And yeah, I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye! Well, that was a fun exhibit. The whole ghost thing was weird, but still a cool tour. I do wonder when the museum will get a new entry. Maybe when someone gets Nova Flared again. Yeah, like that'll happen anytime soon.
Since you're already here, why not have a meal before you leave?